Chapter 8. Calling the Shots. A variety show? Selma said, clapping her hands. Oh, what a marvelous idea. In the empty theater, Selma stood beneath a single spotlight beam, gripping a microphone. She'd been in the middle of rehearsing for her performance later that evening when Claudie pushed through the heavy double doors. She liked to slip in the theater and sink into the seats in the back row as Selma rehearsed. Most times, Claudie did her best not to interrupt, even though she always wanted to leap to her feet and applaud when Selma neared the end of a song. But this afternoon, Claudie could not bring herself to silently listen. She needed to ask Selma what she thought about the variety show. Do you think you could sing in the show? Claudie asked. Well, of course, Selma said. Will you be performing too? Claudie wrinkled her nose. I don't think anyone would buy a ticket to see me perform, she said. Selma laughed. What do you mean? She said. You have a lovely voice. Not like yours, Claudie said. It doesn't have to be like mine to be lovely, Selma said. It's lovely because it's yours. Maybe so, Claudie said, but I don't want to be on stage. All those people looking at me. You won't even notice, Selma said. You just focus on some spot in the back, way above everyone's head. There's plenty of performers to get stage right, Claudie. It's very natural. Claudie had never starred in a show, nor had she ever performed in a pageant, sang a solo, or otherwise offered to be the center of attention. She knew, deep down, that even if she could dance like Nina, or sing like Selma, or play the cornet like Porter, she wasn't brave enough to perform in front of the entire neighborhood. What if she fell or forgot a step? What if the audience laughed at her? I don't think I'm a performer, Claudie said. Maybe I can do something else. Well, you could be our director, Selma said. What's that? It's a very important job, Selma said. The director makes sure everybody is where they need to be. She puts the whole show together. She calls the shots. Claudie thought for a moment. Perhaps she could be the director. After all, she already told her little brother what to do. How could it be any different directing the performers? Okay, she told Selma. I'll do it. All week, Claudie tried to work up the nerve to ask her friends to be in the show. First, she found Porter playing his cornet for tips outside a corner store. When she told him about the show, he said that he would love to perform. Matter of fact, he said, I got a few buddies from my press quartet. I could probably get them to join me. Claudie could hardly believe her luck. A whole quartet? For the first time since she had seen the eviction notice, she started to feel hopeful. Her mind raced, thinking of all the other people she could ask for help. I bet Miss Amelia could sew costumes, she thought. Maybe Daddy could bake sweets for the concession stand. Mama could run advertisements for the show in her paper. Claudie scribbled lists in her notebook, jotting down all her ideas. She even returned to Missoula's dance class to ask the Harlem Angels to dance in the show. She stumbled through another class, feeling as awkward as ever, but her embarrassment seemed worthwhile at the end, when Missoula and the Angels agreed to dance in the show. Oh, thank you, Claudie said, clapping her hands. As far as she was concerned, the Angels were the best dance troupe in all of Harlem. Who wouldn't buy a ticket just to see them? I like your idea, Claudie, Missoula said. And you know what? I'm going to choreograph a new routine just for your show. Claudie beamed. Really? She said. Of course, Missoula said. I'll choreograph a solo just for you. Claudie's smile vanished. Oh no, she said. I'm not in the show. Well, why not? Missoula said. I'm the director, Claudie said. Besides, I just make the angels look bad. Missoula paused. Claudie, she said, do you like to dance? Claudie paused. She supposed she did, at home at least, and she knew that no one was watching. She would dance with Jody to the phonograph or stand on Daddy's feet as he twirled around the living room. I think so. Hi, welcome. We are reading from Me, Claudie, an American Girl tonight. As you can see, we have Claudie here. I think so, Claudie said, but I'm not very good at it. Missoula smiled. I did not ask if you were good at it, she said. I asked if you like to dance. Claudie nodded. Then Missoula patted her on the shoulder. You will miss the dancing, she said, if all you do is stare at your feet. When she left Missoula's dance studio, Claudie realized there was one final boarder whom she had not yet asked for help with the show. She trudged upstairs and knocked on Gwen's door. Out of everyone living at Miss Amelia's, Claudie knew Gwen the least. Gwen had never invited Claudie into a room. She did not take to children, Mama told Claudie once. So, Claudie wasn't to bother her. But Claudie needed to bother her because the show needed a backdrop and Gwen was the only painter she knew. I don't know a thing about painting backdrops, Gwen said as soon as Claudie asked for her help. She began to close her door, but Claudie wedged a foot in the doorway. Can I see your paintings? She asked. I've never seen one up close before. Gwen stared up at the ceiling the way Mama did when she had a bad headache. Hands, she said. Claudie frowned. Hands? Let me see your hands, Gwen said. Claudie held hers up and Gwen examined them. Satisfied that they were clean, she said, No touching anything. You understand? Just looking. She let out a heavy sigh, staring into the hallway for what seemed like a very long time before she slowly opened the door. When Claudie slept inside, her mouth fell open. All around Gwen's room were watercolors of the neighborhood. There was the boarding house among its row of brownstones, and the garden covered in bunches of red poppies. Selma, wearing a feathered headband, her mouth held open in song. Miss Amelia stirring a big pot, bent to inhale the aroma. Porter, sitting at the kitchen table, polishing his cornet with an old rag. There was even a painting of Dizzy Dot, snoring on the first step. The pup looked so realistic that Claudie wanted to reach out and pet her. What are you going to do with these? Claudie asked. Sell them, Gwen said. Claudie gasped. But why? To make money, of course, Gwen sighed. Isn't that why your father sells those cakes of his? But that's different, Claudie said. How so? A cake isn't art, Claudie said. I think it can be, Gwen said. He's very skilled. I don't care much for the sweets, but I admire them in the bakery windows. Claudie had never thought of her father as an artist before. She always thought that her parents were different from the other boarders. They were the practical people, doing the type of work that was necessary to keep the neighborhood going. Her mother wrote articles to inform the community, and her father fed anyone who ducked inside Angelo's doors. But then again, She pictured the delicate swirls of icing on his cakes. Maybe artists weren't some completely separate group of people. Maybe anyone could be an artist. No matter what she did for a living, as long as she found a way to create beauty in her own life. Is that why you came to Harlem? Claudie asked. To paint? Hi, welcome. We're reading from Me, Claudie, an American Girl. Gwen leaned back against the desk, tucking her hands into the pockets of her pale blue smock. Partly, she said. I was an art student. I wanted to be a famous painter someday. Shown in a museum, all that. But not everyone sees the beauty in our faces. Gwen began to drape sheets over the easels, and just like that, Selma and Porter and Miss Amelia and Dizzy Dots and the boarding house disappeared. Claudie knew that she ought to leave. Gwen was practically ushering her out the door. Still, she lingered. Please, Claudie said. I know you can make the backdrop. I'll never bother you again. I promise. Gwen paused for a long time. Then she said, You know, it's a lot of money. The rent that's due. I know that, Claudie said. Times are hard, Gwen said. Folks might not be able to buy tickets to your show. She said this kindly, as if she were preparing Claudie for disappointment. I know that, Claudie said, but I still have to try. Why? Gwen said. She sounded genuinely curious. Because, Claudie said, this is my home. And then, the part that she couldn't bring herself to say out loud, because the Borders were her family. Even Gwen, who refused to help her. Gwen fell silent for so long that Claudie knew she was searching for a polite way to tell her no. It was a great surprise then when Claudie heard Gwen softly say, I'll do it. Under one condition. Anything? Claudie asked. You have to be in the show too, Gwen said. She said it so casually, and yet the very thought of performing on stage made Claudie's heart race. But I'm the director, Claudie insisted. Besides, I don't have a talent. I've tried everything, and I'm not good at any of it. Then you'll have to find another painter, Gwen said. Claudie didn't know anyone else who could paint a backdrop. Why? Claudie said miserably. Why do I have to be in the show? Gwen smiled. Because art is about taking risks, she said. You want to be an artist? More than anything, Claudie said. Then you have to be willing to take risks. Gwen said, you have to be willing to share yourself. Claudie sighed. She supposed that Gwen was right. Didn't the Borders each risk something when they performed? Didn't they step onto a stage, facing rejection, or ridicule, or failure? Maybe it wasn't fair for her to ask that of them without being willing to accept that risk herself. But I can't sing, Claudie said, or dance. Well, what about your puppet shows? Gwen said. Jody always says how much he loves them. Claudie flushed. She didn't want any of her friends to know about the puppets. Talking pigs and cats and ducks seemed babyish. That's different, she said. That's just a thing I do for Jody. Maybe you can write a sketch then, Gwen suggested. What's a sketch? Claudie asked. It's a little play, Gwen explained. All the variety shows have them. You could write a little play to close out the show at the end. Now that was an idea, Claudie thought. Maybe she could write and perform a sketch, even though her stomach swirled when she imagined herself performing on stage. She told Gwen that they had a deal. But what would she write about?